Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmas Imi Morosi Ruspas Mordechai. Hudi Newman. I'm in for 100 Gemaras for Nadarim. Givaldik. It's your chance, Rabbi Sai, to give tzedakah to an amazing cause. One of the best causes out there to get people to learn Torah right before Rosh Hashanah. I have one request. Please, Mike, Noam, Nachman, and Avi during Shir. I'm not making this up. That's what it said. I would love to hear. You don't need a mic. I would love to hear their side chatter. Thanks for my daily dose of oxygen and 45 minutes of my time. Framed in my office, attached, anonymously, and in parentheses for the public. Hudi Numen. Yishkoyach Reb Hudi. You know, I brought some Gemaras with me. Take this Gemara, give it to your friends. Get another guy. Moti, here, you want one?
I don't have any friends.
You don't have any friends?
So true.
Are you gonna? Shalom Aleichem. How are you? It's great to see you. We saw you. You get somebody on the plane. There's a lot of Jews on that plane, and we want it on video. Not a single Jew on the whole Delta flight. I don't know what you're talking about. Give it to a guy then. Avrami Jacobs. He's in a car wash. What else can I do than listen to the shir? It really wakes me up to shir. Yeshiva. It seems like yeshiva bacher. He gets up early to do the daf. I want to say that I started with 3 times a week, and now I do every day. Keep up your amazing work for the klal. Of course, I started doing the daf because of the free Gemara, he says. Oh, Dave Sharfin. Where's Dave? Everybody has to give a big shkach. Give me that thing for a second. Beautiful job. Everybody got one of these yesterday, and if you weren't here last night, too bad. There might be some. Oh, you have. Okay, it's beautiful. There's also, what's his name? Yossi Dahari made some of these last year. I don't know. I didn't see the new ones that he made, but this one is beautiful. And look what he does here. On the screen, you can see. He's coming to London with us. MDY Airlines, London, Manchester, November 1st and 2nd. Rabbi Sai. So sitting right over here, Avi, Noam, and perhaps Mendy coming to London. Are you coming to London? Not yet. Okay. So the Olam is invited. I know Yossi Klein from New York is coming in. And Dave Sharfman is coming. The Sim here, we don't care about. The Sim is in London. Come to London. Yeah, he forgot about it. Hi, Rebelli. Hope all is well. When was the last time I was here for a Siyum? Every Siyum, you got to go to another city. Tomer Levy is coming with us. Yosef Biliak is coming. Gary Ben Moshe is coming to London. The kids are, the whole Olam is coming. Well, shmooze later. We should already shmooze enough, Mati. Hope all is well with you and your family. I want to thank you for your incredible shir and chizuk it gives me. Rabbi Sai, this is a sad story over here. One of his daughters has a tumor. William's tumor, and she had chemotherapy. Towards the end of it, Baruch Hashem, Yeshua is giving me much strength in my Torah learning. Ezra Hashem, I only wish to grow stronger in learning the daf. These past few months have been very difficult on us. Baruch Hashem, Yeshua is giving me strength. Just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to learn the daf under you. My daughter's name is Liel Devora Bat Esther. During our chemotherapy, we were notified of another frum couple that also had a daughter who was diagnosed with Williams tumor. The surgery for their daughter is tomorrow. I don't know when I got this. It's a kidney tumor. Her name is Tehila Basya Bat Chayatova. If you can pray for both of our daughters, that would be great. Here they are, his daughters.
Good morning, Rabbi Sai.
So we have to daven. Liel Devora Bat Esther. The Koilel is sponsored for the success of our family and that we merit to always crown Hashem. The Masechta is sponsored. Eli Stefansky, Ben Moshe, Aaron, Elazar, Ben Shalom, and for the Hatzlacha, and for my children. The second sponsor of the Masechta is Jeff Raz and zchus of my son. Yosef Simcha Chaim Ben Chana, Refuah Shlaima. The rest of the Masechta is sponsored by Ofishel Mitzva Motivators. The Refuahs, Avraham Mנשה, Ben Chana, Brokha, Refuah Shlaima, Rabbi Sai. We're only literally 100 daf away from 5,000 daf for Avi. So if you haven't taken on some dafim, Avigdor Fol took yesterday 55 daf, the whole entire Masechta Sukkah till Sukkos. He's not doing it with us to Rosh Hashanah. You could also go to Sukkos. Let's get to 5,000. I said 1,000. Show me up. 5,000, not 1,000. 5,000. Eliyahu Shalom also took some dafim. So we only had 2 more guys last night. The Parnassa Chodesh, Lili Nishmas Zechrya ben Moshe. Parnassa Chodesh numbers, the second one. The MDY Family, Lili Nishmas Ezra Tuvio, Yaakov ben Esali Yitzchok, Ezra Pollak Olav Shalom. By the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood NJ, because Torah is the best zgula. 4th one, Refuah Shlaima for Yecheskel ben Leah. The 5th Parnassa Chodesh, new one. As a zchus, that Hashem should watch over me and ensure that I'm completely healthy. Ad me'ah ve'esrim omein. Rabbi said again, volume 3 of Art Scrolls coming out this Thursday. Don't let us get stuck with Gemaras. I know somebody told me yesterday, somebody is really good at getting people. He says, well, it's volume 3. There's no such thing. It's one of the most geschmackste mesechtas we ever had. And you tell people about it. Doesn't matter where you start. Who cares? It doesn't have to be the beginning of Dharam. In the middle of volume 3, we're starting. Volume 3. Join dafyomi.com and growtheshir.com. Ooh, Nehemiah Seltz, it's your birthday today? Happy birthday to Nehemiah. Shkoyach. Join dafyomi.com. That is, if you're new to the shir, you've never been to the shir, you go to there and you get your free Gemara. And if you're part of the shir and you bring somebody, you go to growtheshir.com and you get one of these unbelievable art scrolls. Red or blue. For you, yeah. Since you never brought a person to the shir, I will sign your Gemara. Who did you bring? Okay, Rabbi Sai, we're holding the Ayin Dalet Amud Aleph. Like 7 lines from the top. We had a beautiful machlokes. We're going to go over it today. We had a machlokes between, let me see if I have it here, Rav and Shmuel. Okay? It says like this. If somebody was Mekadesh, a woman, gave her Kiddushin on condition that she doesn't have any Nedarim, and then he went ahead and consummated the marriage after the Kiddushin, but he didn't mention anything during the Chuppah and the Nisuin. So we have machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says she needs a get. Shmuel says she doesn't need a get. So Abaye says, because we're talking about that, the question is whether the bia was koine her. Yes, he made a t'nai, but then he did bia and ein adam oise bila se bila znus. So perhaps he just ignored the fact that he made a t'nai. Rabba, on the other hand, doesn't like that. Let's see if we have Rabba. Rabba holds that according to everybody. So no, again, Abaye says the whole machlokes is if adam oise bila se bila znus or ein adam oise bila se bila znus. And if since he had bia afterwards, perhaps he ignored the whole, so she needs a get. Rabbi says no. According to everybody, he's very makvid on his t'nai. He made a t'nai. The fact. So what happened was, according to Rabbi, let's see if I have here. What happened was, it was 2 steps. First, he's mekadesh her with a t'nai that you don't have any nedarim. Then he divorced her. And then the same person got married to the same woman, but there was a divorce in between. The second time around, he never mentioned anything about nedarim. And that's the machlokes. Do we assume that this person cares about nedarim because 2 years ago when he married her, he said something about nedarim, or he doesn't care anymore? Okay. The bottom line is that in one woman, without a divorce in between, if it's only step 1, not step 1, 2, and 3, according to Rabbah, you don't need a get. You don't need a get. Why? Again, according to Rabbah, everybody holds that we don't say ein adam oise bila se bila. Fakert. We say oise bila se bila znos. It's nothing. His bia means nothing, and therefore you don't need a get because there's a t'nai. He made a t'nai. You don't have any nedarim. We find out she has a neder. There's a bia there. Bila se bila znos. According to everybody, the only time we have a machlokes is if he got divorced in between. That changes it a little bit. Maybe he changed his mind. He calmed down, he got older, he got more mature, he already knows this woman, she has an issue with nidarim. Okay, ignore it, we're going to get married anyways. Or no, Rav says, no, since last year when he married her, he said, you don't have nidarim. So we have to assume that now also when he's marrying her, he doesn't want her to have nidarim, and therefore, it's a problem. Okay. Says the Gemara, Itmar Nami, now based on Rabbah, well now we're talking about Rabbah. Again, Rava says, in one woman, not this chart. Because this chart is like one woman with two marriages. It's like two women, the Gemara says. It's like a story of getting married to two people. One case, one woman. Itmanami, Omer Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Omer Reb Elchanan, HaMekadesh al Tanai Ubal. If he made a condition in the Kiddushin, he's going to get engaged to this woman on condition that she doesn't have any Nidarim. Ubal, Divriyah Kol, Eina, Tzricha, Heimenu Get. According to everybody. Why? Because according to everybody, the bia is nothing. He doesn't intend to be mekadosh with the bia. And therefore, according to everybody, there's no kiddushin here. No kiddushin, you don't need a get. So if you notice, 4 lines early, it says, Omer Rav Acha bar Yaakov, and now we're Rav Acha b'reder Ravik. It's somebody else. It's his nephew. His nephew, the son of his sister, asked him a question. It says, Chalitza muteis kshera. Okay, it's one of those days. I need to bring a prop. Chalitza. The guy wears a shoe. What happened was, there was a couple, and the husband died without children. The guy died, and he didn't have any children. So the brother has to either marry the sister-in-law, or she removes his shoe. Chalitza. If it's chalitza muteis, it's a trickery. They did a trick here in the chalitza. It's a kosher chalitza. It's considered chalitza. She can get married to whoever she wants. What does it mean? What does it mean? You trick her. You say the opposite of the truth. You say, if you tell the guy is a meshuggah, he says, he wants to be miyabim. He doesn't want to do chalitza. She looks at him, she says, there's no way I'm marrying this brother-in-law. I know him, I've been around him many times in Shabbosim. Not marrying this guy, no way. So they tell him a trick. They say, listen, if she removes your shoe and she spits at you, she becomes your wife. No, it's a trick. Omer Reb Elchanan, not true. That's not a kosher chalitza. Why? Ani shoyna, I learned, if there's a problem with one of these people, I love your t-shirt. If there's a problem with one of these people, come here a second. Get over here.
Say properly.
Wie ze heißt?
Zisha Fortgang.
Zisha Fortgang. From Vanen? From Muncie, New York. Shkoyach Zisha. Thanks for coming. You come very often. Welche yeshiva bist du?
Medrash
Shmiel. Shkoyach. Yeah, he needs a real hat. What's going on with the hit? Nein, ich meine MSA, the MDY hit. Hätte nicht gewusst. Okay. We have to get him a one. Okay. Tomer, get him a hat. You got a hat up there, Gary? He needs a Zisha comes every day. He came last night. He comes all the time. He needs a hat. I'll pay for it. I know that it's private property. I'll pay for it. What's the sound of that music? Whatever. Ooh! Lefty eye. You have to redo that. Bezionus on camera. I'm not masking. Wow. This time it's not going to reach. There's no way twice it's going to reach. Here you go. Oh, 2 hands. Zisha went to Chassidish Chayde. Okay. Zog the Gemara. Omer Reb Elchanan. Omer Reb Elchanan ni shoyna. Bein sheneskaven hu v'lo neskaven hi. Bein sheneskaven hi v'lo neskaven hu. But talking about Chassidish Chayde Zisha, when I went to Beis Yitzchak Square in Borough Park, so we learned the sugya. You don't know this, Maisis. Everybody here knows it besides you. We were learning the sugya in Kiddushin. Nosan who, if he gives her Kiddushin, va'amra hi. And she said, Harei atam mekudesh li. And the Gemara goes back and forth. What if she gives and he says? What if he gives and she says? So the Rebbe was Chassidish. She says, Nusan hi v'umra hi. Or the nusne hi v'umar hi. Or the vusvetzan, or the nusan hi v'umar hi. Or the nusne hi v'umra hi. Like he. It's the same case, no? Okay. So here we go. Bein sheniskaven hu v'lo niskaven he, or like he said, Bein sheniskaven he v'lo niskaven he. So the kids are, if one of them doesn't have kavana in the chalitza, no good. Bein sheniskaven he v'lo niskaven hu, he didn't have kavana, no good. Chalitza sapsula. Ashi iskaven shneim. Both of them have to understand that what they're doing when she removes the shoe from his foot, it's a chalitza. They're getting divorced here, so to speak, not getting married. You're telling me that if you fool him and he thinks that what's going on here is he can be mekadesher, you think that's a good chalitza? No way. You can't fool a guy like that. So so then what does it mean? Chalitza mutes? In a case that he understands what he's doing is he's not going to be with her ever again. They're divorcing each other. They're cutting. They're what's the word? They're killing the zika here. There's no bond anymore. But they promised him a couple of bucks, and he's doing it because of the money. Alma. So here's the question. Finally, the nephew asked the question. Alma kivin noven ma'isa achuli achlet. What happened? There was a maisa. He permitted her to remove the shoe, and there was spitting going on, and therefore he's basically being moichel whatever t'nai he had. He said he doesn't want to do chalitza unless he gets 200. But now he did a maisa, he allowed it without getting the money, so he's moichel. So I asked the nephew, Achinami, Rav Acha asked, Achinami, even the Baal, since there was a maisa of bia, and if he's moichel t'nai, then what? Then she should require a get. Why are you telling me that there's no get according to Rabbah? There should be a get. If there's action taken, like chalitza, like bia, that means there's a mechila. I'm moichel everything before that. Omar le bar beirav. You're such a Talmud Chacham. Shaber kamers. What you're saying is correct. Think about it. Michti. Kol t'nai mehecha gamrinon mitnai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. Here. Not this one. Oive. Oh. It says in the pasuk like this. There's a whole parasha. You have to look in the parasha. This is just Rashi Prakim. But basically, Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven didn't want to come into Eretz Yisrael. They had a lot of sheep, a lot of cattle. They wanted to remain where there's a lot of grass. The grass was greener on the other side. The grass is greener on the other side. Very good. So they told Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't want to come. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, first they were very upset, Hashem, this, that, then they made a deal with them. He said, if you come and fight with Klal Yisrael, then we'll let you stay there. And so it says like this. If you accept this deal, great. And if you don't, then not great. In other words, you see from here a few conditions that when you make a deal with somebody, you make a t'nai, you have to repeat it. And you have to say, if yes, and if not. For instance, we're coming up on Sukkot. So, right next door by the Prushim, these are like, the original, the Gronics, whatever, the Prushim, they bring like 2-3 boxes of esrogim. Last year there was 2 boxes, like literally 50 esrogim, all types. Yemenite and Moroccan and big ones and small. And they give you the boxes and they say, on condition that it's a matana amanas lahachzer. I'm giving it to you as a gift, but you have to give it back. And if you don't give it back to me, then it's not going to be a matana. So they say they make a t'nai b'nei Gad b'nei Reuven. And then you go and you shake all 50 esrogim. Fine. That's how a t'nai works. Says the Gemara, so I'll tell you what the problem is by chalitza. The problem is that there's no t'nai at all when it comes to chalitza. It's not pshat that he was moichel. You're learning that they made a deal with the guy. He said, if you do chalitza, we're going to give you 200. And l'chayra, he was moichel. Why? Because he allowed the chalitza to occur. No, that's not what happened. There was no t'nai at all. Because when you make a t'nai in chalitza, it doesn't even begin. You can't say, do chalitza, and I'll make a condition, I'll give you $1 million. It doesn't work at all. Why? Because it's not like T'nai b'nei Gad b'nei Reuven. Every T'nai in the world has to be like the original T'nai in the Torah by Gad and Reuven. The what? Over there, Moshe Rabbeinu put in charge a shliach. Who? Yeshua. If b'nei Gad and b'nei Reuven, they do X, Y, Z, you give them the Ever Yarden. So there's a shliach. But guess what? Have it kiyosam, have it no. It's a good tonight. Have it no, no. But chalitza or anything else in the Torah that you cannot perform through a shliach, kiyosam, lo have it no. You can't perform it like a shliach. Like over there, it's not at night. Now chalitza must be performed by the husband, by the yavam and the yavama. The yavama removes the shoe from the foot of the yavam. You can't put another person instead of him. It has to be his shoe, his foot. It has to be the yavama. Just like the yavama, she can't send her mother to do it. It has to be her. So too, it has to be him. As the Gemara, v'abiyah. How is somebody going to be mekadesh a woman through biyah with a shliach? So you cannot use a shliach. And there is a tanai in biyah. How do you know there's a tanai in biyah? Because we learned last night. What was the lashon over here? Al menash yirtze abo. Yeah, something like that. It's not the exact lashon, but okay. Al menash yirtze abo. Whose father?
His.
How do you know? But you weren't there. No, I said he wasn't there last night. I'm just firing him on the Zoom. Oh, yes. Okay, fine. Al menash yirtze abo. And what? She yival. There was the lashon of B over there. I don't know where it is, but there's a lashon of Boyalech. Oh, here we go. Hareni Boyalech. Bia. Almanas, and he does a condition, Shir Tzabas. You see that there's a condition in Bia. But Bia cannot be done through a Shliach. So isn't that a kash on what you just said? Says the Gemara. If you look at the pasuk over here, V'yatzim Beis, the famous pasuk, all the havayis, all the hoisas, in other words, kesef, shtar, and bia, are all have a hekesh to each other. And just like kesef and shtar, you can do through a shliach, and it works with a tnai. So bia also works with a tnai, even though you can't do it with a shliach. Omar avula baraba, Omar ulo, Omar Reb Elchanan. So now let's go a second. Okay, let's do a shtickle chazar here. What's the whole machlokes Rav and Shmuel? In a case, kitcha al tnai v'konsa stam. He's Mekadesher, but he said, on condition I'm giving you Kedushin, I'm getting engaged, Erusin, on condition you don't have any Nadarim. And then a year later, they got married, he never mentioned it again. They got married, he didn't mention anything about Nadarim. According to Rav, you need a get. According to Shmuel, you don't need a get. What's a machlokes? So we have three ways to explain the machlokes. Abaye says that the machlokes is whether or not Adam Oisibi Losibi Lesnos. Because there was Bia afterwards, maybe that Bia made her Mekudesh, even though there was a Tnai. So for that Kiddushin, you have to get divorced. What about the Ksuba? What about Ksuba? You don't get Ksuba. Okay. Rabbi says no. So if you look over here, like every machlokes, you have the extremes. According to Rabbi, according to everybody, a person doesn't care about his bia. He cares about his tanai. He made a condition with a woman. That's it. I'm sticking to my guns. I want to make sure you don't have any nadarim. There's bia afterwards. I don't care about the bia. According to Reb Elchanan, and that's what we're discussing right now, the exact opposite. He's on the other extreme. Everybody agrees that ain't adam lesnos. So you have to say that the machlokes is something else. What's the machlokes? According to Tosfos, the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel is in a case where there's no bia. He married her chuppah, but no bia. That's machlokes. Rav says you need to get. Shmuel says not. And then the middle case is exactly we have machlokes, two extremes. Ain't adam lesnos or lesnos. And this middle case is that only according to Rav ain't adam lesnos, and according to Shmuel lesnos. That's the top shita. So there are three shitas here. Let's see inside. Now we're learning the third one. Omar Avula Baraba, Omar Ula, Omar Reb Elchanan Shita. Hamakadesh ben Milva Ubal, Gishmaka Sugi over here. Again, we're going Shas cutting, going through Kiddushin here. A person lent money to a woman, and then he tells her, you know what, I'll be meichel you $1 million that I gave you last week on condition that you marry me. Not a good Kiddushin. Why? Because you have to give a woman something. And Milva Lahitsanitna. When I give you a loan, it's not in the world anymore. It's for you to spend. She already spent it. She bought property with it, whatever. You can't be mekadesh a woman with with a chayv. A chayv is, there's no mamashas to it. Nothing to it. So I'm mekadesh b'milva, He tells her, Hareyat Mekudeshesli, on condition that I'm moichel you the $1 million loan. And she says, okay, let's get married. Ubal, and then he had Bia. That's exactly what we learned last night, no? Very similar case. That does a person intend with his first Bia, does he say, well, maybe this Kiddushin that I did wasn't so I don't know Hilchas Kiddushin, I didn't learn Mesechus Kiddushin, so I don't know that a Mekadesh b'milva doesn't work. So just in case that it didn't work, let the first Bia be a Bia L'Shem Kiddushin. Typically, Bia is not L'Shem Kiddushin. You have to have intent for Kiddushin. So this guy had intent for Kiddushin, or maybe not. We don't know. We don't know what his intent was. We do know one thing, there was Bia afterwards. Al Tanai, on condition you don't have any Nadarim, and she lied, she has Nadarim. Ubal, again, this is Bia. He gave her less than a pruta. He gave her 1 penny. I don't know how much a pruta is today. Let's say it's 25 cents in America, a quarter, something like that. He gives her 10 cents. Ubal, and then there's Bia. Divrei Hakol, Tzricha, Himenu, get. Says, you notice over here, what's Divrei Hakol? Divrei Hakol means even according to Shmuel. Very good. Even according to Shmuel. In other words, you must say that Reb Elchanan holds that according to everybody, Rav and Shmuel, according to Shmuel, Ein Adam Oise Bilose Bilaznos. So because he doesn't do his Bia business, and he gave her 10 cents instead of a quarter, so then when he was boiler, he had Kavana L'Shem Kiddushin. Even according to Shmuel, Ein Adam Bilose Bilaznos. So then you have to understand what's the machlokes in our case where he made a Tanai, and then he was Koines Stam. And that's what they say. Tosfos says that the pshat is, he was kindness and he wasn't boiled. At that point, what's the halacha? Omer Rabbi Ezra, Omer Rabbi Menachem, Omer Rabbi Ami, Hamakadesh bepakim shover pruto baal, tzrichem menu get. Why? Baha hu deloitay. There's 3 cases here, right? Hamakadesh b'milva, Hamakadesh b'tnai, and Hamakadesh bepakim shover pruto. He comes along and says, only in the 3rd case, only in that case, you need a get. Why? But the other 2 cases, Mikadesh al Tnai, Mikadesh b'milva, he was moichel alone, that you don't need a get. Sorry, does he explain? No. Now what? That when a person, everybody knows that you can't be Mikadesh a woman with a dime. It has to be something substantial. So Melo, when he goes ahead and later on in this Bia, he has kavanah to be Mikadesher. But not everybody knows the halacha. A regular person, go ask any guy that didn't learn this sugya. Ask him, say, I gave a woman $1 million, and then I told her, I'm moichel you. Is that good enough to be Mikadesher? Most people say, yeah, why not? You gave her $1 million, no? To know that it's not considered giving something, that you have to be a big lam, you have to know stuff. And Memela, he doesn't have kavanah to be Mikadesher with the next Bia. And the same thing with the other case, al Tnai. He doesn't know the halachas of Tnai. But everybody knows, every little kid knows you need at least a pruta, you have to give a ring, you have to give something substantial, and therefore, because he didn't give her something substantial, the Bia is going to be al das Kiddushin. Says Gemara, if he made a Tnai that she doesn't have any Nidarim, and then he did Bia, she needs a get. There's a story like this. They didn't know what to do exactly. They said, okay, let's do a get. This comes to exclude the Tana that says, right? We learned this very extensively. Where in Yavamas? Asura. If the woman wasn't forced, there's consent, then she's also to her husband. Only if she was forced. But if she was forced, she's mutter to her husband. She had a relation with somebody else, but she was forced. However, and we learned this also, there's one case where a woman wasn't forced. She's married to a man. You hear this? She's married. And then she goes on her own will with another man, and she doesn't become also to her original husband. How's that possible? It's a trick question. There was a Tnai in the Kiddushin. Husband number 1 says, I'm being Mekadesh you, let's get married on condition you do 1,000 jumping jacks. And she went ahead, and she didn't do the 1,000 jumping down. But they were married for 5 years, they had children together, everything's great. And it turns out that when the time comes and goes, she didn't do her 1,000 jumping jacks. So what happens? She was never married to this guy. What? No, because you have to have kavanah to be mekadosh. That's what we're talking about. That's mamish what we're talking about. You have to have kavanah. Shafilu b'no murkav al kseifa. That's mamish what we're talking about. What happens to the bia here? Even though she has children, she's carrying children on her shoulders. Amud Beis. Taisus over here talks about. So Taisus says, if you look over here, like 15 lines down, he says, "Mimenes lav dafka." Ela filu beloy miyun. Mimenes just means she doesn't want him anymore. It doesn't mean the halacha of miyun where she says with her mouth, "I am in mine you." Mimenes just means I don't want to be married to him. Very interesting. She could marry anybody she wants. She can marry the second guy, and if she wants, she can marry the first guy. Because typically, if you're married to Reuven and then you get divorced and you have a relationship with another man, Shimon, you can't go back to Reuven. In this case, she was never married to Reuven, so she can marry anybody she wants. She comes back to Reuven and says, "Shalom Aleichem, let's get married." The kids are not mamzerim. No, they're just out of wedlock. It's not mamzerim.
But then she gets married straight away.
To who? Oh, you mean does she have to wait 3 months? Of course she has to wait 3 months. Why not? Doesn't matter, but we have to know who the father is. That's a different problem. Okay. Tana Rabban, exactly, that's the least of our problems. Tana Rabban, sponsor. In honor of Yagi Bam and Moshe or Hatzlacha b'chol anyanim. In honor of my uncle, Reb Elchanan Pressman, the presser who wants a chumash here and never happened, probably will never happen, as zchus for a year filled with mazel, brach, and Hatzlacha. Tana Rabban. I mean, longer than what, not that what he did, it's the whole Megillah. Yeah. Oh yeah, we have more time. It says like this: Simchos and Parnassa bereva. You see, I want to do it. Just we don't have time. A woman has these conditions, these nedarim that she made. The husband said, "I'm only marrying on condition that you don't have any nedarim." So what does she do? She goes to a chacham, and the chacham looks at her and says, "Had you known," what does he tell her? "Had you known that some guy would come over to you and say, I want to marry on condition that you didn't have any darim, would you have made that neder? No, you want to marry that guy. Okay, so then retroactively, I'm annulling all the nedarim, mukudeshes. Eitzel roife v'ripe oisa, eina mukudeshes. If she has, let's say, here I have a picture of a mum. I thought this was a gishmak mum. Because large ears is a mum. So if it wags like that, it's zchar a mum. And if the doctor takes care of it and chops them off, what's the halacha? Eidem kudeshes. Eidem kudeshes, why? So the Gemara says like this: Ma ben chacham l'roifa, chacham oikir saneder mi karei. There was never a neder. He tells her, had you known that this guy wants to marry you without a nedarim, you would have made it? No. So that means that the first second that she made the neder was never even chal. It's retroactively annulled. A doctor could only heal from here on out. But she still had a mum when he told her, you can't have a mum. I'm not going to get engaged if you have mum. And she had a mum then. So it's not chal at all. It's very interesting because we're standing here right before Rosh Hashanah. It comes out beautiful. When a person makes a neder and goes to a rav, what happens? It's annulled mi'ikara. Same thing with tshuva. When a person does tshuva on aveira, the Mesilas Yesharim at least, the Ramchal says, when you do tshuva, it's as if it never happened. You erase it completely. It's retroactively not there. Givaldic stuff. I saw just the interesting thing here. It's unfortunately negel l'maisa sometimes. If a single girl had relations with somebody, is she mechuyev to tell her chassan? Shayla halacha. Is it like a mum? Because we're talking about mum. Person has a mum, and he says you don't have mum. And even if he doesn't say you don't have mum, and he finds that he has mum, it could ruin the kiddushin. This, if the chassan knew what happened, then maybe it's not a good kedushin. If it's not a good kedushin, he never had intent to be mekadesh bibi or whatever. So what do? They asked this question to Reb Moshe Feinstein. A lot of achronim are dealing with this question. Reb Moshe Feinstein said very, very important. He says he must tell her, but he says do not tell. She must tell him. Sorry, she must tell him, and he says please don't do it on the first date. Make sure that it's at a time that the guy is ready to get engaged. At that point, you say, listen, something happened. It was mamish. I was convinced, and it was mamish. I would never do something like that. It was a one-time thing. On that, you could lie. How many times? Okay. Halacha l'maisa. Says the Gemara. What's this? Okay. Enough of that picture. So we see it says in the Brisa, we have a contradiction in the Brisa, and we need to resolve the contradiction. On the one hand, we made a nafkamina between a chacham and a roife. If it's a mum or a neder, you could annul, you could pretend it never happened. A mum, you can't pretend it never happened. The fact is, it's there. Yes, she had plastic surgery to repair the nose, the ears, whatever it is, the eyes. But at the end of the day, she had an issue once upon a time. But now we're saying that there's no difference between a chacham and, in other words, a neder, and no difference between a mum. Eina mekudeshes. Even from a neder, you're not mekudesh. So what do? Omar Rava leikasha. Some agurs, I guess, Rabba over here, because we're going to have another Rava soon. Yeah. Let me see, because on Amud Aleph, I didn't pay attention to that, but I'm pretty sure it says Rava there. Rava Omar, Hacha Be'isha Chashuva. So it can't be Rava over here, it has to be Rabba. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines down from Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. Omar Rabba, Loi Kashya, Ha Rebbe Meir, Ha Rebbe Elazar. The two brises, contradiction? No. It's Machlokes, Rebbe Meir, Rebbe Elazar. It's not literal. Doesn't mean he wants his wife to be embarrassed in Bezin. It just means he doesn't care. A man doesn't mind if his wife goes to Bezin and spills the beans in front of a bunch of rabbis and says, she made this and this neder. Or perhaps no, person is very embarrassed. He'd rather not marry this woman than her coming from the rabbi saying, I made this crazy neder. I don't even know what, but it's crazy and the rabbi shouldn't hear about it. It's a bizarre. Shedisbaza means he doesn't care. Let me just see who it is. Reb Elazar, the Omar. A person, even if they could be oiker the neder lechatchila, he doesn't want her to say it in Bezdin. Mahi, where do we have this machlokes? The Snan. A person divorces his wife because she has nadarim. Lo yachzer, he can never take her back. Mishum shemra, lo yachzer. If a person found out that she was over, let's say on Ishes Ish, shemra, lo yachzer. So one of the reasons Rashi says is very important, because what happens if he could take her back? He still has a shot at it. So later on, he's going to find out that it was a Rasha Marusha, one of the neighbors. He made a rumor about his wife that she was over on Ishes Ish. So he's going to say, I would never divorce her. If I would have known that it's this Rasha that did it, I would never divorce her. I want her back. But guess what? She already married somebody else and he has 3 kids with that man. He's going to make him mamzerim now. So we make a thing. If you ever divorce your wife because of a shemra, you can never have her back. I don't care. It was a mistake and it was a shemra, it was a false. Doesn't matter. Same thing with another. We'll just read this, even though they take it out. Whether you need did I skip? Kol neder. Kol neder shetzorch hakir as chacham. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Kol neder sheyodu boy rabim. If the neder was done in front of 10 people, rabim, lo yachzer. You cannot take her back. The Gemara is going to explain why. Lo yodu boy rabim. If the congregation doesn't know about it, you don't have 10 people to know. Yachzer, then you could. Rabbi Meir Omer, Kol neder shetzorch hakir as chacham lo yachzer. Depends. If it needs a chacham to annul it, you can't take it back. Because any tzarech means the husband himself could take care of it. What does it mean? It's inu nefesh. Rashi says inu nefesh. What are the nedarim that a husband can take care of and get rid of? if it's painful for him, or it's dvarim shebeina levena, intimacy. So those kind of things, then it's tzarich hakiris chacham, then he could take her back. Reb Elchanan omer echad tzarich v'echad ein tzarich lo yachs. Omer Reb Elchanan lo yasru chachamim lo yasru tzarich ela mipnei she'einu tzarich. This tzarich, meaning, what does tzarich mean? That a chacham is mata the neder. Really, in fact, it shouldn't be a problem. But the only reason why it's a problem is because of a case of einu tzarich. Because at the end of the day, he can't say, oh, if I would have known, I would have gone to the chacham. Right? He can't say that. Why? Because now he holds that a person doesn't go to a chacham. He doesn't have that excuse. Oh, if I would have known, I could have gone to the chacham to annul her neder, I would have done that. And Memela, I wouldn't have divorced her, and she wouldn't have got married to the second guy, and she wouldn't have those children, and now they're mamzerim. No, you don't say that. Why? Because nobody wants to bring his wife to the chacham. He holds it's a bizayin to bring your wife to the chacham. Okay. So the only reason why it's aser is because of a case where he doesn't have to go to the chacham, he can do it himself. And he doesn't have that excuse. My time at the Rabbi Yehuda, why does Rabbi Yehuda say that if it was done in front of 10 people, you can't take her back? The chsiv, top of ayin hey, v'lo yihikum b'nei Yisrael, ki nish b'lehem nisiyah. They were talking about the Gevonim, they lied to Klal Yisrael, and they said that we are Gerim, we came from a very distant place, but it turns out that they're a bunch of liars. But once Klal Yisrael swore to them, they made them the water carriers and the wood choppers. Okay. But it says over there, ki nish b'lehem nisiyah ha'eda. V'kama, okay, so it's in front of whatever. We'll see what it is. V'kama rabim, how many? Because it says in the pasuk here, Bishuki Yosef Zoev Dama, Yamim Rabim, many days. Yamim Shnayim, the first word Yamim, the least of many is 2. Rabim is Shloisha. It's talking about here the case of Zava. How do we know how many days Ziva is? If a woman sees dam for 3 days straight, she becomes a Zava Gdoila. How do we know that? From this pasuk, Yamim Rabim. Huh? No. Oh, you mean no? But how many is many people in front of a rabbim? It happened in front of rabbim. What is rabbim? 3. You need 10 people because it says Ad Mosai. Here's the pasuk. Ad Mosai leido hara zois. It's talking about the meraglim, and we know by meraglim they would start out with how many meraglim? Rabbi Isai? 12, but 2 of them don't count. Shua and Kala don't count, so we have 10. So we know that Eidah is 10. And over here it says, Kinish Bulim Nisi Eidah, 10. Sibu. Fine. We'll stop right over here. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.